Anytime you hear the word cancer, you seem to maybe think of the worst.
They had told me that there was a tumor inside my colon, and I had to wait 2 days before I found out whether or not it was cancer. I had told my group to pray for me, and so they were waiting on those results on that day. After we did find out that it was indeed cancer, I called and told, one person.
Our whole group's reaction when we first heard about Jennifer was just, we were shocked that someone our age could be diagnosed with such a serious disease.
In my mind, I'm thinking, how am I going to do this? Am I going to be able to still do my daily responsibilities? How do I keep the house clean? And how do I, cook dinner, and take care of 3 kids?
We, were immediately beginning to think of ways that we could help her family.
I didn't really have any expectations. I didn't, think, oh, well, my group will come to my aid. I had no idea the type of response that it would bring.
As Jennifer was going to her treatments, Monday through Friday, she had to do something with the children, and there were people that were there. They showed up and said, we've got your kids for the next hour.
We would go out to check the mail and, trip over a huge box of diapers. Or we would go out and have just paper plates and napkins. We probably didn't have to go to the store for weeks.
One day I remember coming home and I'm like, what is that noise outside? And there were 3 guys outside mowing our yard. It's things like that. People just showed up to help.
They sent out an email saying that they were going to collect money for bracelets if anyone would want to wear a bracelet that said the Anderson family.
The proceeds that we made, we just gave it to Jeff and Jennifer. We had raised close to $1,200.
They took my husband and I out to dinner and just presented us with this, enormous check.
There were families that very generously paid for Jeff and Jennifer's parking at the hospital for a year.
Everyone was there, and people that hadn't been in the class very long were knocking at the door saying, how can we help?
The group just really wrapped their arms around Jeff and Jennifer during this entire process. People wanted to be there to help.
I definitely learned a lot about caring for others during this time. Instead of just asking, hey, I want to help you, let me know if you need anything, I learned just to do it. You don't necessarily have to wait for an invitation.
It was incredible. For the first time in my life, I saw what the body of Christ was all about.
Words can't even describe how I felt during this because of all that my group had done. This time it was our family and what our family needed. But whenever a group cares for other people, it just cements the bond.
And all the believers lived in wonderful harmony, holding everything in common. They sold whatever they owned and pooled their resources so that each person's need was met. Acts 2, 44 through 45. It's common in small group ministry to hear this passage mentioned as the ideal model for biblical community. But how many of us as Christ followers ever really experience this? It's hard because our lives today are just so isolated. We get in our cars and we drive to work in isolation. We often then work in isolation. We go to the gym and plug in our headphones and exercise in isolation. We get home and drive straight into the garage, close the door so that we can be isolated from our neighbors. And then even within our homes, our families will watch TV or play video games in different rooms. We'll eat our meals at different times because of soccer, gymnastics, and homework. We become so cut off that it's easier just to keep people at arm's length. But why do we let ourselves get so isolated? Let's be honest, we're busy, sometimes too busy. We're also broken. We don't feel like we can really help others. We say things like, I can't do anything to care about anybody else's problems. I don't have time for my own problems. And besides, how can I help someone else if I can't even really seem to help myself? And so since we don't have time or because we don't have it all together, we find that it's just easier to act like we care than it is to take the time to actually deeply, honestly care. So we casually respond to each other's problems with, I'll pray for you, and then often forget to do the praying. James 5:16 tells us, pray for each other, and that's often the extent of our caring for each other. But Hebrews 12:15 takes it a step further beyond prayer and says, look after each other. And then 1 Peter 3:8 says, be of one mind, sympathize with each other. And then just one chapter later, it says, show deep love for each other. These passages show us that the isolation that we've grown so comfortable with ultimately destroys us because God made us to be better together than we are apart. We can be stronger together when we go beyond just praying for each other and we act, becoming answers to prayer for each other. When someone in a group is having financial trouble, we band together to provide a solution. When someone in the group is sick, we help take care of that person. We go to the hospital just to be there with them or to take them some snacks or movies or books. When someone is lonely, we take them to lunch. When someone's mourning, we put our arms around them and cry with them. When someone's car breaks down, we offer them a ride or lend them a car that we've got. When someone needs their house painted, we pick up a brush and we help them do it. Our lives together are greater than our separated lives because we take time. We put aside our busyness and we offer help even if it doesn't seem like a whole lot. The result is that the combined strength and faith of just a few weak and hurting people is greater than the strength and faith of any one of us alone. Dream with me for a minute. What if we paused in our busy and isolated lives to take time for each other? What if we, like Christ followers in Acts chapter 2, lived in wonderful harmony, holding everything in common? What if we stopped keeping others at arm's length and instead embraced them? What if we really believed that together we are stronger than we are apart? What if we learned to actually care?